Darryl, just your considered assessment, really, when you've looked back at last week's game, how close you think you were?
Well, about 7 minutes away. Um, so yeah, we were pretty close. I mean, though it was disappointing because I think we'd worked so hard to get ourselves back in the game and give ourselves an opportunity, and yeah, we couldn't quite close it out. But I spoke to Adrian Lamb after the game, and he was talking about how close most of our games are. Which I suppose the disappointing thing for us is we've come down the wrong side on five of those close games. So if you convert even three of those, even two of them, to be honest, then you're in a different position. But well, we are where we are. We always knew that there were going to be some sort of difficult periods and games that we were going to have to reflect on and then improve. And we've had a pretty heavy injury toll as well, which has been difficult, but. Like I said before, it's extended our depth, I think, because other players have got opportunity. There's some competition in there that maybe wasn't as close at the start of the year. I'm taking, say, Josh Rourke and Max Jowett as an example. That's a lot closer than it was at the start of the season, and I think Harvey's had an opportunity and he's got close. He's got really close as well. He's done a great job, and then it's just been great to see some of our players grow. To be honest, so we're deeper than we thought we were. Tough challenges coming up, but we're learning every week. I think about who we are, what we're doing, and how we can get better.
How did little Clark enjoy his day on Sunday, and did he stay awake for the whole game?
Yeah, he stayed awake. Yeah, he just cracks on running about now. I think Keegan was chasing him about all day, so. He didn't enjoy the fireworks too much. They were a bit loud for him, but yeah, no, that was great. I just thought it was an awesome day. Apart from the result, everything for Clark, and I think just Clark's part of the raising money for candlelighters is up to 25K now. I think so. They've done a great job, and the club a big part of that. So yeah, really proud of everybody with what was done for candlelighters and Clarky last week.
It's a phenomenal achievement, Darryl, and those fireworks scare the heck out of me as well. You've named an unchanged squad. Is a potential for movement within the 17, though, on Friday?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, like I said before, we're not getting a lot of players back. So there'll be a little bit, but not much.
Could you, it's an onerous thing to ask you to do, but could you give us an update on the guys that are out at the moment? I'm thinking the likes of Renoff and Caleb and Kai and Ollie Russell as well. But I
Yeah, so
might have forgotten someone else as well.
Ollie Russell's training at the minute, Max starting. Ollie Russell's training at the moment. Still, he's not got full strength on his hand. But he's trained today. He's catching the ball and he's getting around. He's not in contact yet, but he's a couple of weeks where he needs to get strength in that hand before he can really get back into it. Kai Rodwell is going to be a while. I haven't got a real time frame on him to give to you at the moment. He's had a couple of knee ops, which he's recovering from. There's quite a few guys getting just starting to get back onto Alt G running. Tommy Doyle he's had a bit of a setback, maybe a couple of weeks away. Renouf is starting to go Alt G, so he's starting to run a little bit, obviously on sort of percentage of weight. Matty Staunton is a while away. It was a big injury that he had, so he's a while away. And Caleb Welly, he had a nerve conduction test yesterday, so we're just sort of trying to find out exactly what that means. The news is generally decent-ish news. Um, so if he gets ticked off to start doing some contact work, and he needs to strengthen because he's lost a fair bit of muscle in his shoulder as a result of the nerve being bruised, and you don't see an awful lot of this, but I think he may be the next back with Tommy Doyle and Ollie Russell, but yeah, at the moment the middle unit is a big one because we're pretty skinny there, but the boys are doing a class job. So this is it's a tough contact sport in it, and um, everybody's got injuries, but I just think we have more than most at the moment.
Just on Caleb, is that it has been a bit of a mystery, hasn't it? Has it been a bit frustrating getting to the timeline of getting to the bottom of that?
Yeah, I think for him really, and for us, he's a very good player. So yeah, when you so they've had a period of time until he's had a nerve conduction test. I've had one of those, not very nice. To find out whether the nerve is severed or just bruised or how it's damaged. So they found out it's just bruised, which is generally good news. But he's got no feeling in part of his shoulder, and he's lost a lot of muscle in his shoulder as well. So that's going to take a little bit of time to build back up. Um, but it is generally good news. It could have been. I mean, Sam Hall's been out for over a year at Castleford with a similar sort of injury. So I think he'd severed his and needed an operation. So yeah, it's a pretty difficult injury to know when you're going to be right with, and so it can be frustrating for a player. There's certain injuries where you know exactly the time scale. For Caleb, it's been difficult because we haven't known.
Have you got a sense or a confidence that you will get these players back, maybe in a block or within, 2 or 3 weeks of each other, where that's going to really, accelerate your season?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I don't know exactly when we're going to be able to put a full team out. You never really know, do you? Because, the other injuries happen. But if we can, I mean, at the moment, if we had another couple of middle unit players, then, I think we'd be very, very tough to beat. I think we're tough to beat anyway, but I think we'd be exceptionally tough to beat if we had a couple of those guys back. But we haven't. So. Later in the season, maybe a month, maybe six. I'd say 6 weeks. I think in 6 weeks, if we were to stay on the same trajectory we are at the moment, in 6 weeks, I think we'd be in a place where we'd look a fair bit stronger around that middle unit, and that'd be pretty handy.
Just on this week's game, then I think you've played Leeds twice, Castleford twice, Saints twice, Warrington twice, and Lee twice. This will be the first time you faced Wigan. What are you expecting from them?
Oh, just class team, aren't they? I think the speed that they've got, the way they play the game. They're pretty physical. They've been consistent with the selections around the middle. So they've just got good players everywhere. So I just think you have to be at your best. You can't take your eye off anything. You can't clock off. You've got to be outstanding with and without the ball. Uh, yeah, so just a really, really physical, difficult game. That you've got to be in it. You've got to be at your best, and you've got to be in it for 80 minutes. I think. What, what about that example last week? I mean, I put their final try on the preview today, and you went, just look at the clock. There's 1 second left when he puts the ball down. So. But yeah, they've been outstanding for a long, long time, and clearly at the moment, they're the team. Though OKR are doing what they're doing, Wigan are the team to aim for, aren't they? They've been phenomenal over the last few years. Matty Pete's done an incredible job, as everybody has at the club. So yeah, they're the team to aim for, and they take some beating. So I've said to the players, you have to be, everybody has to be at the best, and but that's a great challenge, isn't it? I just think that's what you're in the game for as a coach, as players, is there's great joy in playing against the best, and you come out the other side, and that's what it's all about. You don't want easy games, you want games where it's really challenging you.
They won a Challenge Cup final with just seconds left as well, didn't they? Just lastly for me, you've obviously had to wait a long time to get the champions, and obviously it's down at the DIY Kitchen Stadium. It's got the potential to be another big night down there, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, the atmosphere is. I thought it was unbelievable last week. To be honest, you look around and you just go, "He's got a club that's going places." The Wakefield's, the crowd was great. It's got a good vibe about it. Yeah, the atmosphere is class. I mean, you kick out on the floor, it kills it a little bit, doesn't it, from the kickoff? But yeah, I just think it feels great, and this is, Wigan. I think it'll be well supported, and it should be rocking. It should be a great atmosphere, and you always want to do that justice with your performance. I think And I think we're ready. I think we're ready to play well. It's a shortish turnaround, so they're always difficult. But here we go. Just these are the games that you want to play in, I think.
Just one really quick one from me. I see that Derek Beaumont's doing a charity bike ride in support of Candlelight. I think after hearing your story, some gesture for him to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's after our pre, but I think it's awesome anyway. I spoke to him after the game and he mentioned that. So yeah, outstanding. I think he does some pretty different things, doesn't he, Derek? But he does some outstanding things. So I think yeah, excellent. And Candlelight is an unbelievable charity. I think it's well justified that people are looking to raise money for its cause because cancer in children is one of the worst possible things. So yeah, well done, mate, well done, Derek.
Just on Wakefield's attack, you kind of seem to be playing this sort of all court, all expansive game. I just want to see how you've kind of developed that and given the players the freedom to kind of play that way.
Well, it's just about setting your philosophy and how you want to play. I think we are multifaceted. To be honest, I think we have opened our game up a little bit at times. We've got some outstanding halfbacks and key players. We have scored quite a lot of tries through our middle unit, so I think we're dangerous everywhere. But the thing is, just you work on your skills pretty hard, and I think Wigan they move the bottle probably as well as anybody. So there's quite a few teams who are great in terms of the skill set, and I think we are growing our game and ability to play different ways. But yeah, I think look, you involve the players in what you're doing. They come up with their own ideas. Coaching staff come up with ideas, and then you mix it all together. But the philosophy of allowing players to play what they see in front of them is an important one, and setting that right at the start. We did that right at the start of last season when we took over as a coaching staff, and then we've just looked to harness it and grow it.
Yeah, does that kind of come with a lot of buy-in then from the players?
Oh yeah, won't do it if they don't buy in, because it's all right moving the ball, but it's got to be effective. If it's not effective, then it doesn't really work. There's no point because there's different ways of breaking defenses down, and some of it is depends what kind of team you've got. Some of it is brute force going through the front door, and some of it is out the back door around the outside. And I think it's getting a balance right. I don't think you can always have the same. And we found at the start of was at the start of this season we played really expansive against OKR and got a lot out of it, and then we tried to do the same against St Helens the game after, and they threw us in touch about 4 times. So you can't go around the outside of some teams. We're gonna like that, they'll throw you into touch if you try and go around the outside of them all the time. So well, it's just about balance, and I think this players learning what's in front of them, because you have a plan, but things present themselves in different ways at times, and you want players to be able to read that, and that's all about them growing, reading, seeing, learning. And if you get it all right, then you've got a multifaceted team that can play different ways, and I think we're on a journey towards that.
Hey Daryl, just a quick one from me, please. You mentioned you've had several near misses this season. It's left you outside the top six looking in. Are you into a crucial period now that the Challenge Cup's out of the way and you've got a clear run of fixtures ahead of you?
Yeah, well, we a really tough block. So obviously we played Leeds, then we had Leeds last week, we got Wigan this week, then OKR. So that's about as tough a block of games as you're going to get. And we're not far off, and I think the teams that we're playing against are pretty much picking from strength. So look, we're getting a lot of confidence from what we're doing, but it is, you don't know how. I mean, you look at Lee last year, for example. They ended up going on a run at the end, and then they're in the playoffs. For us, I just think we've got to hold our nerve. We always knew we were going to go through tough periods. We've lost our last couple of games, and we're into a tough block. But we just turn up every week, and we look to really go and challenge the opposition. We'll start to get some troops back, and who knows? I don't think it can be defined in the next couple of games. I think it's a journey for us, and it's there to be got into the top six, and there'll be some pivotal games along the way. But I think we're in a great position. I think if you'd have said at the start of the season, this is your position, what do you reckon? Now they've gone thumbs up. Yeah, we're all right. We're ready for this. So yeah, we're in a good spot. Look, we're looking forward to it. Oh, it's a great challenge for us. And this is, one of the biggest challenges this week. So yeah, another great opportunity for us to go and show what we're about.
And no one's really getting away. They're not even St Helens who are fifth, and all the way up to Leeds in third. What I'm trying to say is below Hull, Care and Wigan, it's anyone's, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's and that's the way it should be, isn't it? Really, I think we've just got to you just keep working hard, and we could have easily picked up 2 wins out of the last 2 games, but we haven't. So it's about learning and driving on and looking to be better. And we certainly need to be better this week. I think we've got to defend better than we did last week, especially in the first half. I think both our last 2 first halves have been pretty average, to be honest. And then I think second halves have been class. So maybe I give a different team talk. Maybe it's my fault at the start of games, but yeah, we've got to come out of the blocks a little bit better. I think that's important this week.
Just start off by telling us whether you thought you'd scored the winning try on Sunday.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how I didn't score it. I thought I knew it was close, and I watched it back after the game, and yeah, I probably should have scored it, to be honest. Disappointing not to get over, especially at that point of the game, but it's one of them things, innit? Move on quick from it, with quick turnaround, Wigan Friday, so I can't sit around moping about that.
It is, at the end of the day, though, it is yet another close defeat. Are these tough ones to take? Because, when, as Darryl Powell was just saying, if you look at maybe snagging 2 or 3 of those, you look at what those points would mean on the table.
Yeah, we spoke about it over there. I think we've lost 4 or 5 games by points, like 2 or 4 points. If you flip them on their head, and it's another 6 or 8 points on that league table, and we climb up that ladder. We're not sat in a bad position at the minute, sat in 7th. I think if you'd have spoke to Wakefield fans before the season, you said you'll be 7th halfway through the season, they'd have probably snapped your hand off. So it's good to see that we're disappointed. Losing these games, there's not a game where we've sort of been blown away really for the full 80 minutes. I think there's been a couple of games where we've been poor in halves, but we've always come back, and I think that's a pleasing thing to see. I think the Wakefield team probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, it'd probably been blowout scores, but it just shows how much spirit we've got in this team.
And did you feel that was possible at the start of this year?
100%. The signings that we made, the players that we've kept hold of, quite a new group. It took us a little bit to gel sort of in pre-season, but once we sort of got to know each other's play styles and stuff like that, we sort of knew we could do something special this season. Obviously, it's first year back, we're not obviously we want to do as well as we can, but we're not looking at unrealistic stuff. But we just want to push each other to as far as we can go, and there's no pressure on us really. Obviously, like I said, the new team coming back up into Super League, and we want to just sort of show teams what we're all about and get respect that we deserve.
The match day atmospheres have been phenomenal. Sunday was just another one of those, and this Friday will be another one. Pauli was just saying, how good they are, and it just shows it's a club going places. Given the fact you made your debut down there, just over a decade ago, how do you even compare the two from 2014 to 2025?
It's worlds apart from when I first came through. We were having ice baths in bins, and there were a chair in showers, only 2 showers worked, and it had mushrooms growing out of it. And stuff like that. And you look now, you come up into the flats on the second floor. We've got our own team room. A lot of lads are watching State of Origin now and having lunch together. And a few lads are playing pool, a few are playing darts. There's a coffee machine up there. And I've said it before. I think after training, lads come up and they'll always have a coffee together after training, and you can't really get them home. They've got people's wives and missus asking where they are, and everyone's set up here having a game of pool and that not going home. So it just shows it sort of that's probably one of the reasons why we're such a tight knit group. We've got lads who are meeting sort of outside of training who are always together, and we're just bonding really well. And I think you can see it on the field.
Probably a fair few that are too tight to pay for Sky at home as well.
100%, most of them.
100%. Gailey will be one of them as well. After your season last year, Max, such an amazing record-breaking season from a personal point of view, what did you have to reset your ambitions for this year, or were you just happy to go with the flow?
Yeah, probably sort of reset it. Obviously, once we got relegated, I knew what sort of I had to do in the championship to get this club back where it belongs. But it's no good just having one good year sort of thing. You need to be having good years every single year. And the thing about sort of me when I was coming through, I've sort of not been consistent enough to sort of keep my place in the team when I was coming through, and I've been in and out of the team a lot, and I just wanted to sort of nail that starting position. If that's at fullback, halfback, wing, centre, anywhere, I'm not too bothered as long as I'm playing. So yeah, it was sort of obviously we all had a bit of a chat with Parley and stuff, and sort of looked at realistic goals of what we want to set ourselves for the season. And yeah, it was sort of just having a bit of a refresh from that. Is Super League, it's different to Championship. So I knew I had to have a big pre-season and sort of hit the ground running. And I like to think that I've sort of done that, but I've still got plenty of areas to improve.
It shows how well you're playing at the moment that your name's been mentioned as a potential replacement for Wellesby if he doesn't make the Ashes at the end of the year. Darryl Powell's previously spoken about your international potential. What would that mean to you? And is it something that's somewhere in there in your mind?
Yeah, 100% in my mind. Even obviously before the sort of news about Jack Wellesby, it's one of the sort of targets I've set myself. One of the long term ones. Obviously, that's you want to have your name sort of thrown around around England, don't you? And if you're not sort of reaching for that, then there's no point in really playing. It's you want to be playing at the top level, and to even have your name sort of mentioned is a bit surreal, to be honest. But look, I need to just sort of keep my head down at what I'm doing at Wakefield at the minute, and just try and perform week in week out and stay consistent, and hopefully that can come later on.
Do you feel like you would be ready for an international appearance?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I'd like to think I've sort of got enough experience in Super League to sort of take that over, and I'd never turn down an opportunity for that. So if that opportunity come knocking, I'd go with both hands.
What about Wigan on Friday? What do you expect from them? You've had to wait a fair time to get in front of them this season. What do you think you're going to get on Friday?
Same as you always do with Wigan, plenty of energy from their middles. They're a big pack. They come at you fast, come at you hard, and then obviously on the back of that, you've got plenty of speed on the edges, which is difficult to deal with. But I feel like if we go into that game with the right mindset and sort of try and nullify their threats, we've got a really good chance of beating them. I think the sort of the Wakefield Trinity team you look at now is, I think people might be looking, not sure who to pick on who to win this game. And if you look at that a couple of years ago, it'd be a definite Wigan win. So yeah, look, we want to make it as comfortable as possible for them to come down here and get a win. And we're coming off the back of a couple of close losses, and we need to be turning them into wins if we're looking for top six at the end of the year. We can't just keep saying, "Oh, unlucky, we've lost by 2, we've lost by 4, and never mind, we'll get it next week." We need to be turning these into wins. So I thought we were quite disappointed at the weekend against Lee. I didn't think we were nowhere near at as best, and we come that close to beating them. So look, we need to start fast. We've not been starting fast these last couple of weeks, and we can't just keep trying to claw back games. We need to start fast and put points on the board and keep hold of that game.
Yeah, I'm good. Good. We were just speaking to Darryl, and he was talking about the extra sort of competition for places that he's got in the squad now, with injuries that you've had this season, and other players have stepped in and done well. That's obviously been the case in your position as well, where you had to be out for a bit, and Josh came in and did well. Obviously, it's good for a coach to have that competition, but for you want to make sure that there's no doubt in his mind who the top number one is.
100%. That's down to me. What I do at training, what I do in games. I mean, if that's playing halfback, if that's playing fullback, like I said, I'm not too fussed. I just want to be on that field, in that starting team and do my best for this club. Brock is a class player. I think he probably should be playing, wherever that may be. I'm not too sure, but yeah, look, Rock is a class bloke, he's a class player, and he's got areas to improve on, which I could hopefully teach him, and I've got areas to improve on which he's better at. And I want to try and learn off him, and hopefully we can sort of combine and make each other better players.
Yeah, that's it. I know he's spoken about how he enjoyed working with you and learning off you. What are you learning from him then in reverse?
Yeah, so like I said, Rock has got areas that I need to improve on. For example, his kick chase challenge stuff, which we sort of looked at me improving last year, and the way he does it is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, just stuff like that, and just working closer together in training and stuff like that. And we want to be pushing each other, and he wants to play, so he needs to keep pushing me. I'll keep pushing him, and we need to both be performing well to keep a shape.
The only thing you can't get off him is an extra few inches in height, I suppose.
Aye.
That certainly helps him. You were talking about England. I mean, is that a sort of ambition that's sort of realistically come to the fore at any particular moment in sort of recently? I'm sure it's been a long-held ambition throughout your career as well as a sort of one day I'd like to do that.
100%. Obviously got a little taste of it when I was younger playing academy, and obviously it's not the same as the first team in the national stage, but you sort of get that idea when you're younger as well, when you pull the shirt on how much it sort of means. But yeah, like I said, as meetings we've had at the start of the year, this obviously was one of my long-term goals. Obviously I'm 28 now, so I if it's not now, it's we're running out of time a little bit. So, though it's a realistic goal and there's no reason why not. But like I said, I need to be performing here at Wakefield week in, week out to even be considered. So I just need to keep my head down and keep performing.
Hi, Matt. Just one from me. I've already spoken to Daryl about Wakefield's attack this season and how it's come on. But from a player's point of view, how much is it? How enjoyable is it to play that sort of attacking, free-flowing rugby?
Yeah, loads more enjoyable. The coaches sort of give us a plan, but it's sort of down to us spine players who sort of put the plan forward really, and we sort of share our views on stuff. The coach will share their views on what they think, and we sort of come with a plan together. So it's not just coaches telling us what to do. It's the players have a lot of say in what we do in terms of our shape and style of play. Um, Obviously it varies on week to week with who we're playing, how they defend, but yeah, obviously for players like me, Mace and Truey and stuff like that, we want to be, we want to be playing expansive. We want to have the ball in his hands. We want to be playing fast and sharp. And, it comes with its consequences sort of thing. You're going to put the ball down maybe a little bit more often than teams who are a bit more direct. But yeah, it's sort of the style that we want to play with. But we sort of want to be direct on the back of it as well. We've got some big middles who can cause some damage, like we've seen. Like Mike and Leps and Pitts in. I think with that as well as ball playing and middles have been quality this season. They're freeing up a lot of space for us spine players as well. So yeah, it's risk and reward, I think, sort of thing. And at the minute, it seems to be coming off pretty well.
How do you kind of get that attacking shape? Does it happen organically in training, or is it what you see on the pitch? Just how do you kind of find those shapes?
A bit of both. It's obviously we practice a lot in training, the sort of shapes, depending who we're playing against. But things change in games. People defend differently. Stuff happens. So to have sort of two halves, Truey and Mace, who really really smart halfbacks. It gives me a lot of space out the back as well. They play sort of what they see as well in front of them. It might go off a little bit off plan. But yeah, like I said, they're just playing what they see in front of them, and I think that's what makes us such a good team, really, with them two sort of leading the lads around.
Hi Max. Sorry, just finally on England. Have you actually had any conversations with Sean Wayne? Obviously, I think he's a coach that likes to be in contact throughout the year.
No, but no conversations, mate. No.
So as you say, then for you, it's about showing him what you can do week to week in Super League, hoping that he picks up the phone.
100%. Like I've said, obviously it's in the back of the mind. You want to be playing, but I've got a job to do here at Wakefield week in, week out, and I can't sort of let thoughts of a potential England call up sort of get in the way of what I'm doing here at Wakefield. So the Wakefield is my first thought.
And you said that you've represented England at youth level. I think was it around 2013. Do you remember what players you played with back then? Sorry to cast your mind back.
Yeah, Morgan Smith, I think, we're in halves. Harvey Levette, we're in the centre. Young hooker from Hull, Brad Parker. I think it was. I think he sadly passed away, I think, in a car crash a few years ago. Jacob Ware, I think, were one of them in the centre. I can't remember anymore now.
Yeah, no.
There.
Yeah, sorry, I did put you on the spot there, but obviously it's something that's lived long in the memory, that earning that representative honours at youth level.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice one. Best of luck with the rest of the season. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you, mate.